Hey friends, it's day 5 of Rainbow Week, and we have arguably one of my favorite items of the week. This is an idea that I've had for a year. Last year, I made some rainbow caramel, and it was like a thin consistency caramel, and I really wanted to try it out with my cookie butter salted caramel, so finally, I gave it a try. I made 1.5 batches times 6. I made them each individually and colored them, and then layered them on top of each other. We started with purple, and then of course, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. And I did have to add varying amounts of food color, like for the yellow layer, I had to add a bunch, and for some of the other colors like green or blue, I didn't have to add as much. So with each 1.5 batch, I make it the regular way, and then I just simply add some color to finish it off at the end. I might pop it back on the stove just to make sure it stays really nice and melty, so that when I pour it in the pan, it's going to spread out nice and even. After using an offset spatula to help spread it out and make sure it's nice and even, then we're going to let it chill for a little while, and then I actually also was able to pop it in the fridge for a little bit so that the previous layers were more set when pouring the hot caramel on top for the next layer. Once all of the layers were done, this pan was so heavy, I'm not even joking, but I was able to put it in the fridge overnight so it could completely set, and then I simply took a chef's knife and cut off the sides and then started cut pieces, and this took a while to cut through because, like I said, it is super thick, but I really love the way that these layers turned out. I think 1.5 batches was perfect because I think one batch would have been a little bit too thin, a double batch would have been way too thick, so I think this was the right amount. Look at all the colors. This is exactly what I was hoping it would look like. And of course, I wanted to cut some pieces and cover them in chocolate because one of my favorite things are just simple little chocolate covered caramels. So I melted down some of my absolute favorite dark chocolate melting wafers and popped them in there. Of course, you could cover them in some of the white vanilla melting wafers. This is just my particular favorite. Dark chocolate with caramel is just chef's kiss. So to have the best success with this cookie butter salted caramel, after cutting them into pieces, I popped them back in the fridge just to make sure they were still nice and chilled. And then we simply coat them in a thin layer of melts. I used a fork to help scoop it up and shake off the excess and also scrape off little excess melts as well. Then we're going to place on the piece of parchment paper. And sometimes with this method, they still are a little bit exposed on the bottom. So after they're set, I like to pick them up and dip the bottom in just a little bit of melts, shake off the excess, and scrape them off as well. After all of our melts are set, we're going to take a piping bag filled with some more of those dark chocolate melts, or a different color if you prefer, and we're going to do just a simple little diagonal drizzle over the top and add some nonpareil sprinkles. Here I'm using some bright rainbow ones. And of course, here is the moment that I was the most excited for. Doing this caramel pull with the rainbow caramel is something I've been imagining for the past year that I think would just be really cool, and I love the way it turned out. I think I do want to try to add this into a candy bar like the one that I made last year and do a nice caramel pull that way as well. But even though this was a ton of work, I am really excited with how this turned out. What do you think of this rainbow caramel? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.